Good morning, Bone.
Morning, Gary. How are you?
Doing well. A lot to cover. I want to start with something that I've gotten some emails about and have heard from some fans, and that was Thalia Valla visiting LSU over the weekend and parading out there with Ed Ogeron to the Eye of the Tiger midfield prior to the game so that all the LSU fans could see them together. And he's committed to Alabama, the quarterback, to his younger brother from Thompson High School there in Alabaster, but has continued to be recruited and continues to seem to be open-minded. Some Bama fans are concerned. What's the latest on Thalia Valla, and should Bama fans be worried that he might flip to another school?
Well, he did take the visit down there this weekend. I think a lot of people were talking about that when he walked across midfield with Coach O. But he is going to take some visits. He is going to enjoy the recruiting process, and there's a lot of schools coming after him. I mean, he's one of the top high school quarterbacks in the country, and Alabama has a pretty good one right now in his older brother, who will be back next season. And there's a lot of schools going out there telling him, hey, we could have you start for our team next year. Our quarterback situation is in shambles. We need you. We need you. And I think he's listening to a few schools, and I think he's going to take some official visits and kind of enjoy the process. But at the end of the day, I'd be very surprised if he ends up going somewhere else.
I would be too. I just knowing that family and how close they are, it would be surprising. But you can't blame other schools for trying to get involved. He's an outstanding quarterback. Of course, with the game in Baton Rouge, so much came up about Alabama and LSU recruiting against each other and the success that Alabama has had in Louisiana, and we saw it on the field. I mean, there were some difference makers that had LSU had those guys instead of Alabama, it might have been a different game. I mean, whether it's Isaiah Buggs or Moses or
Davion Smith.
Yeah, who started at LSU and wound up at Alabama. It just goes on and on. Devontae Smith, so forth and so on. What are some big recruiting battles that Alabama and LSU are engaged in against each other this year?
Well, I think the main one that everybody talks about is the battle for Ishmael Sopsky, the five-star defensive tackle out of Louisiana, number one defensive tackle in the country. It's an Alabama LSU battle. There's some other schools that are in the mix, but at the end of the day, he's going to pick Alabama or LSU. And there's a lot of people that think Alabama's in the driver's seat. Of course, I still think that LSU's in, and I wouldn't say in great shape. I think LSU might be slightly ahead just because of his relationship with Ed Ogeron. I mean, he constantly talks about, anytime you ever talk to Sopsher, he always talks about his relationship with Ed Ogeron and how he has the best relationship with him out of any coach, even any assistant coach, recruiting coach. He talks to him just all the time. So I think that really helps LSU a lot. But at the end of the day, he's going to make the decision what's best for him and his family. And he hasn't taken any official visits yet, so those are going to come down the road. And he won't announce the decision until February. But I definitely think it's a two-team race there, and I think anything can happen between now and signing day with him. A couple other kids that, obviously you mentioned Tonga Viola, who's looking at both those schools. One interesting recruit who's made a couple visits down to LSU this season, actually made 2 trips down there, has also visited Alabama, but committed somewhere else, is George Pickens, the 5-star wide receiver at Hoover, number one player in the state of Alabama. Is looking at both those programs extremely hard, and obviously still committed to Auburn at this time. But I think that both those programs are going to be strongly in the mix. Marcus Banks just recently decommitted from LSU, but still has LSU in the fold. Still looking at them pretty strongly. I definitely think that it's a pretty close battle with Alabama, LSU, and also Texas A&M for him. But there's definitely there's definitely a few other ones. I mean, Trey Sanders, even though I think Trey Sanders ends up picking between Alabama and Florida, he's going to take an official visit to LSU before he makes the decision, the 5-star running back out of IMG Academy. And, I definitely think that there's a few other kids that are out there that are still taking some visits, that are still, enjoying the process, even a few Alabama commitments that are still looking at LSU. Christian Williams out of Daphne High School has made a few trips down to LSU this football season. I think that's one that a lot of people are watching pretty closely because Alabama's still heavily recruiting a lot of other defensive backs. They have 3 safeties currently committed. Christian Williams being one of them. Will Christian Williams, possibly flip to LSU, and I think that's something that a lot of people are keeping an eye on. Do I think he ends up flipping? Probably not, but I still think that LSU is a very big threat to Alabama for him.
Let's look ahead to this weekend because you put out a list of some big name official visitors set to come in for the Mississippi State game. Chris Bogle, Shane Lee, Darian Dalcourt, Jordan Battle, and Diandra Class. There could be some others, but that's some info that you put out yesterday. Of course, Dalcourt is committed. Shane Lee is committed. So let's talk about the other 3. Tell me about Chris Bogle, the defensive end from Cardinal Gibbons High School in Fort Lauderdale.
Well, getting Chris Bogle on campus, I think, is huge because Alabama really wants to get an edge rusher in this class. And he's one of the fastest, quickest players in the country coming off the edge. He's 6'4.5", about 220 pounds, and just can absolutely fly. I saw him at the Rivals 5-Star Challenge this summer. I was blown away. I had no idea who this kid really was until I saw him at the 5-Star Challenge. I mean, he was unblockable coming off the edge, and he's certainly a kid that Alabama holds in very high regard. We've talked about some other kids, Kayvon Thibodeau, Noone Smith, some other edge rushers that they really like a lot that they would like to get. But Chris Bogle certainly up there in that category with those guys. He'll be on campus this weekend. A lot of people think probably Miami, but Miami's having some struggles on the field this year. Really could open up the door for Alabama, especially with a good weekend visit.
What about Jordan Battle, the 4-star safety from St. Thomas Aquinas, who, of course, his teammate recently committed to Alabama? What's the latest on him?
Yeah, well, Jordan Battle is one of those kids that Alabama's been very interested in for a long time. He visited Alabama for the LSU game, the Louisville game at the beginning of the season. He was one of those visitors who came up to Orlando, so you kind of knew that there was going to be some interest there, and he was probably going to make it up to Tuscaloosa for an official visit at some point. Now, he's been committed to Ohio State for a very long time, but I think with things that have been going on at Ohio State, that he's kind of opening the door for some other schools to recruit him, including Alabama. As you mentioned, his teammate Braylon Ingram just recently committed to Alabama, so I think that helps a little bit. But St. Thomas Aquinas, one of those powerhouse football programs that they've got a lot of kids on their team that are committed, Power 5 schools. So I would, we'll have to just wait and see how things go. But Alabama really likes him a lot. He's being recruited as a safety, so we'll see how this weekend goes.
Indeed, we will. And the third name on that list, Diandra Class, running back out of Katy High School in Texas. You've got him listed as tentative. Do you think he'll make it in or not?
We'll see. I mean, he had scheduled an official visit, and I keep hearing, it's kind of a maybe right now. We'll probably know at the end of the week, maybe tomorrow on Thursday. Diandra Class, pretty good running back out of the state of Texas, powerhouse football program over there, and I certainly think that as of right now, Alabama really pressing hard to get Trey Sanders in this class. They really want a big, thick running back like Trey, and I think that if Trey ended up going elsewhere, that they could really push hard for a kid like Diandra Class or maybe a Jerrion Ely, 4-star running back out of Mississippi. But we'll see if he ends up making the trip. But I think right now probably just a backup option in case Trey Sanders goes elsewhere. All
right, Bone. We talk about this every week, but spots are getting tight, and Alabama still, it looks like, clearly wants to add another couple offensive linemen and defensive linemen to this class. What is the latest on Evan Neal, the big offensive tackle out of IMG Academy? Alabama appears to me to be the clear leader here. Am I correct?
I think so. I actually had a chance to spend some time with Evan Neal last week. Saw him last Thursday, spent a little bit of time with him, and I got the impression that Alabama's in the lead. He is going to take an official visit to Oklahoma this weekend, and then he's going to make an official visit to Alabama for the Iron Bowl weekend. And then he's going to make a decision in December, I believe. And he did not know at the time which other schools he was going to take official visits to. I would assume probably Florida State and Miami. A lot of people assume Miami is Alabama's biggest threat there. So we'll see how that goes. But in the end, I think he ends up picking Alabama. He's got a great relationship with the coaching staff there, and I think just from talking to him, it seemed like they're definitely the team to beat.
And on the defensive front, spots are limited. We've already mentioned Sopsher. You think Alabama tries to take a couple more there? How do you see that playing out?
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, they're heavily recruiting some guys. Still, even after the Braylon Ingram commitment, I mean, they have 5 defensive line commitments, but the way they're still going after several guys, it wouldn't surprise me if they take 2. I mean, I think it has to be the right 2. I mean, they definitely want to get one more guy, and Sopsher probably at the number 1 on their wish list, but they're still going after Ty Robinson out of Arizona. They're still going after Jaquez Sorrells out of Largo High School down in Florida. Still recruiting Nathan Pickering, even though he's committed to Mississippi State. He'll be in Tuscaloosa this weekend, so they're still heavily recruiting him as well. And, there's some other defensive linemen that are out there that they're still keeping warm. They're still recruiting. Siaki Akea, big defensive lineman out of Utah that should be in Tuscaloosa for the Iron Bowl. He's probably not one of their top 4 defensive line targets right now that's not committed, but he's one of those guys that if they miss on, let's say, a Sopsher or Jaquez Sorrells or Pickering, he could be one of those guys that they could end up, giving the green light to.
All right, we got a opportunity, or a lot of people did, to see Trey Sanders up close and personal when IMG came to Hoover on Friday night, and we know what kind of program Hoover has, and to see what IMG Academy was able to do to them gives you an idea just how much talent is on that football team. And I'm going to ask you about Noone Smith in a moment. But first, Trey Sanders put on a show. He's an outstanding back. As you said, he's going through the process. Clearly, Alabama wants him to be the running back that they add in this class. When all is said and done, you think Trey Sanders will be a member of this signing class?
I do. And, he was another guy I spent time with last week, and I certainly believe that Alabama's in very good shape with him. I'd watch out for Texas as well. He really likes Texas a lot. Got a really good relationship with with their coaching staff, especially the running back coach over there. But he'll be in Tuscaloosa for the Iron Bowl. We'll be doing his official visit weekend, and I think it will probably seal the deal for him. I mean, I think Alabama's kind of been waiting on him to commit for a little while now, and I think with him announcing in December. Now, he told me last week that it could happen in early December or late November. So with him coming in for the Iron Bowl, I think it could seal the deal for Alabama.
All right, and I saved the biggest little tidbit from, because as you said, you've been down to IMG. Noone Smith, the outstanding weak side defensive end from Savannah, Georgia, at IMG, Georgia commitment. But the game's not over with him, and he really got people going, both Georgia fans and Alabama fans, after a LSU commitment tweeted out that LSU would not lose to Bama while he was at LSU, and that got Terrell Lewis's attention, Alabama defensive end. He commented on it, and then Noone Smith basically came out and said, "Are they saying they're going to beat us?" Talking about Alabama. These kids love to have fun, but do you think there is a shot that Alabama winds up flipping Noone Smith from Georgia?
I think there's an outside shot. I wouldn't say there's a good shot. I mean, I think Alabama's got a better chance with some other kids that are committed elsewhere. Like, I would say Alabama has a better chance to flip somebody like George Pickens away from Auburn to Alabama. So right now, we're just going to probably have to wait and see how the official visit goes. I mean, I saw the tweet as well, and a lot of times we just got to remember these kids are 17, 18 years old on social media. There's no telling how some of us would act if we were in high school and we had that social media platform and everybody was, relying on everything that we sent out. I'm probably pretty happy that I did not have social media when I was in high school, because there's no telling how much trouble I would have probably gotten myself in. But I'll tell you what, I certainly believe Alabama's done a great job recruiting Noone Smith, and I spent a little bit of time with him as well. And we didn't do a big interview like we did with Evan Neal and Trey Sanders, but I did talk to him and really kind of asked him. I was like, I know you're going to visit Alabama, and he's going to visit for the Iron Bowl. And I said, are they really in it, or is this just kind of being respectful to the coaching staff who's recruited you for such a long time, and you're going to take that visit like a lot of kids do? And he said, no, Alabama's certainly in this for me. I really like them a lot. I've got a great relationship with Tosh Lapoy and Michael Oxley. Those guys have recruited me for such a long time that I like them so much. I want to go up there, look at the depth chart, and really give Alabama a hard look. Now, do I think that Alabama ends up flipping him? As of right now, no. I mean, I think he's been a really solid commitment to Georgia as well for such a long time that I'd be surprised. But at the end of the day, I think that Alabama's done a great job recruiting him, and we'll see how the official visit goes here in a few weeks.
All right. Lastly, Alabama fans are always wondering who's next in terms of commitments. For the commitment watch, anybody you think that could be pulling the trigger here soon in favor of Alabama?
Well, I think you have to kind of watch the kids down at IMG. We've got some a few kids who are going to announce a decision within the next month or so with Trey Sanders and Evan Neal. I think those are some kids that you've got to watch pretty closely. You're going to have the Iron Bowl that's going to be coming up here in a few weeks, and you're going to have a lot of visitors on campus. One kid in particular that I would watch. Now we don't have any kids that, as of right now, have a scheduled announcement. But in terms of players that are going to be on campus this month that they could go ahead and announce, I'd really watch out for Noah Pola-Gates, the 4-star DB out of Arizona.
Okay.
He's going to be making another trip to Tuscaloosa for the Iron Bowl. It's going to be his official visit. Now, he told me that he was probably going to wait until mid-January, but as we've been talking about for a long time, the spots are very limited right now. Alabama's recruiting some great defensive backs, so I wouldn't be surprised if he went ahead and made that decision during his official visit weekend.
Great stuff as always from Bone. Tell the listeners how they can get all the great information that you provide.
Well, come to BamaInsider.com, which is part of the Rivals.com network. We've got a 30-day free trial, so sign up for that if you're not a member, and check us out. And you can always follow me on Twitter at Andrew J. Bone.
Great stuff. Appreciate it, Bone.
Thanks, Gary. See you.